Sup, dude?
Llama talk!
Okay, how's my connection now? Is the connection good?
Yeah, it's good. I think it gets a little laggier when we go live, but
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see how it is.
hopefully it's good. Okay, episode 8 of Survivor.
Yeah, yep. Do you think I have a quick question? Do you think we'll ever get as good at making llama sounds as Tony?
No, I can't even, I can kind of do the second llama sound he made at the tribal council, because it was more like a blah, 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 blah. But the first one, when he was arguing with Cass, that was just pure emotion. It was just pure emotion, it was just not strategical, it was in the moment, just pure emotions right there.
Yeah. I mean, it was genius. It was genius. Oh well. Sorry for all those llama enthusiasts out there. We're not right on the llama call, but we'll get better. We'll get better.
Yeah. I think we're more at the alpaca level at this point, and then we'll progress to llama as we get more experience.
Mhm. Mhm. It's a ladder. Everyone starts there. Everyone starts at the alpaca. We'll get there. We'll get there.
So anyone watching, this is Llama Talk. You can leave your comments. Follow us on Twitter at TalkLllama. I didn't post any funny stuff last episode, but I will be posting funny stuff about the episode. And it's just a funny account to follow.
Yeah. There's a lot of funny stuff you missed this episode. I don't know. On my part, mainly from Keith, though. From Keith.
I flat out just forgot. There's some funny moments. It's a pretty goofy cast because there's just some people in the game that just aren't serious game players whatsoever, and you can't even try and take them seriously, even if you try really hard. You can't take them seriously.
I mean, we'll talk about it through the episode, but you want to get the episode started right now, I guess?
Yep, let's get it going.
Yeah. Try to I don't know. I've been trying to make these shorter just so they're more convenient, But
yeah.
I guess we're just gonna talk as long as we can talk,
Whatever. Yeah, we'll just talk. Wait. So what? Before we get right to the beginning of the episode, what's your thoughts? Just a quick thing on Josh going home. Just so I don't have to wait a long time for that. Just quick thing.
Quick thing. Personally, for me, bummed out, kind of. I would have liked to have seen more from Josh. I mean, this whole season we've seen how great of a player Josh is. He's obviously one of the best ones out there, and I think I'd love to see him play again. I think the season has potential to get really, really boring now that Josh is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. I'm very disappointed to see Josh go. He was one of my favorites, one of the people who really, really know how to play this game, and I feel like it's hard to say who's the better game player from what we saw, from what we've seen from Jeremy and Josh between the two of them. Mm-hmm. But the thing that's good about Josh is that I think that he didn't play as much with his emotions, and he was really able to compartmentalize his emotions and really just get into game mode out there. And I feel like there was just a bunch of outside forces that were working against him, and he had bad luck. I feel like if he came back on an all-star season, he'd do really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing is, I wouldn't have wanted Jeremy to go, and I wouldn't have wanted Josh to go. Yeah, I love seeing that them butt heads. It was great. It was refreshing to see two really great players for once in a season, just actually bump heads when they should be. And
that's kind of why I feel this was a good episode, but I feel like it could have been better, and I feel like the fact that Jeremy won immunity did kind of take the wind out of the sails for me, just because it's either Josh or Baylor now, instead of you have those awesome moments where Josh goes up to the voting thing it's either you or me, Jeremy, and Jeremy does the same thing, and that one of these big players are going to go home, but then you get like the viewers now, it's like, okay, it's either Baylor or Josh, and I kind of rather want Baylor to go, and now Josh goes, so it's not like it's an epic thing. I'm just kind of disappointed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with that feeling. I thought it was kind of, it wasn't what Josh deserved. Josh deserved a lot more than just going up against Baylor. He deserved to like have him and Jeremy like bump heads at one tribal council. And I mean, I'm kind of bummed out to see Josh go. I hope it's not just a beginning. That would be so freaking boring. But we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, let's get into the beginning of the episode. Let's talk through the whole entire thing. I don't want to miss anything.
Do you have any thoughts about the recap for last episode? Talk about one thing I caught on to was they say Julie really saved Jeremy, and they really underline that. That Julie's quit like really helped Jeremy. Jeremy totally would have gone home.
Yeah, I think that definitely the thing that stuck out for the recap was like the same thing, that they said Jeremy was basically screwed and like somehow he has an in back in the game, and I don't know if that reflects well on him, like he needed this big break to get into a good position, or maybe it just furthers like an underdog edit that makes Jeremy look like even more of a hero. So it's definitely kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it reminds me of kind of like when people like cherry pick bad things that like good players have done. It's like, Tyson wouldn't have won if he drew the rock. And it's like a lot of good players have to have luck sometime or another. So.
Yeah, and the thing with Jeremy is that I feel like like the thing with Tyson drawing the rock is that if he solidified Sierra more, that wouldn't have happened. But there was nothing Jeremy could have done to prevent Julie from quitting. So it's not like Jeremy should be penalized. Because I feel like if he got voted off 12th, he would have been a good sport about it. But it just so happened Julie quit, so that's good luck for him. I mean, it's not like we can fault him for that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you know better. You know more Survivor math than me. Do you think this means that there's going to be a final two this season then, since Julie's not on the jury?
I don't know, because
they're still going.
Well, the thing is that they've had a final three with a jury of 8 a few times, and what makes sense is a final 2 with a jury of 9. But I feel like they do a final 3 with a jury of 8 just so there's more of a likelihood of an interesting combination of people in the final 3. And especially, I've never gotten the final 3 with the jury of 9 thing. I've never gotten that because there's many more options for split votes, like 3-3-3, 4-4-1. It just seems much more likely that things would end in a tie. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I would love to see there be a tie in the final tribal council. I've always been like, it's killing me because Jeff always says that they have something to resolve it, but we're never going to find out probably. Well, hopefully we do at some point. But
wouldn't it be I mean, if it's between 2 people, wouldn't it be like the 3rd place finisher votes? That's what I would imagine. That's
what I was thinking. I think that if it's like but the thing is what if it's a 3-person tie, a 3-3-3 vote? Because if it's a 3-person jury and then it's like a 4-4-1 jury vote that maybe the one last jury member has to pick, or maybe the 3rd person has to pick or something. But if it's a 3-way tie, then I want to see what they would do with that. That'd be interesting.
How much would it suck if Jeff Probst is just like, okay, right now, fire making challenge, right now. Just like in the studio, in front of a live audience.
No, they'd probably just like let Boston Rob win. That'd be the tiebreaker. Yeah. Rob wins.
Rob, come out here. Show us your new book. You won the season.
Dude, but like, I mean, I really don't know if it's gonna be. If I had to guess, I'd say it's gonna be a final 3. I think the final 2 thing worked for Cagayan. I don't think it's gonna. It would be as good for Blood versus Water.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. I agree. Um, so moving on, um, we see the aftermath of, like the next day, like everyone's complaining about how like Julie quit, and like I love how Missy's just like shitting on Julie. It's like, oh, you don't quit, like you don't quit out here, you know. And I thought that was really refreshing to see them all just kind of like be bummed out, like
Yeah,
just disappointed in
I
Julie.
mean, we all know that for Survivor, it's till death do you part. So you don't quit on Survivor, you don't divorce Survivor. That's not the right thing to do. When you start something, you should finish it, Missy.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then we also got a glimpse at how John and Jacqueline are still in the middle, still in power. I thought they would be in trouble being this power couple. Coming into the game, like everyone obviously sees how big of a threat John is physically, um, and the fact that like he's got Jacqueline, who's like kind of brains. He's got another member to work with. Is like they're in a really powerful position, and like everyone wants them though. It's funny.
Yeah,
I thought
I don't.
I just thought they'd be in like, deep shit, but they're doing good. I
I
don't think
think
they know how
yeah,
good they're doing.
they're by far the loved one pair that's doing the best. I mean, you think of any other loved one pair in the game, um, Josh and Reed, which are now split up. So they were obviously targeted. Missy and Baylor. Baylor was targeted today also. And I mean, Wes and Keith are doing good, and that they're not on anyone's radar, but they're in the minority alliance right now, so they're not playing the best. So I feel like as a couple, John and Jacqueline have been playing the best, but at this point, I feel like they've relinquished their power to Missy and Baylor, and I feel like they're going to have the most power moving forward.
Hmm. What did you think about John's decision to want to go with Jeremy at the beginning, or want to get out Jeremy at the beginning of the episode? He kept telling Jacqueline, we're going to stick to the plan, but Jeremy's got to go. He just doesn't trust Jeremy.
Well, Jeremy's very charismatic and very influential, and he has Missy and Natalie like wrapped around his finger hardcore. And I feel like he would have a very easy time convincing them to take out John before they take out him. But I feel like if John went with Josh and Reed, who are both very big threats, you have Wes there. Um, you could bring along Wes, Keith, Alec, those the farters into your alliance, and
Everyone's got gas, Magnus. Everyone's got gas. Okay.
I just I just think that there was more like deflectors for John, but I feel like for Jacqueline, the thing is it's tough because they're such different game players, but they have to play as a unit. So I feel like if Jacqueline was playing alone, Jeremy's side would be best, but if John was playing alone, then Josh's side would be best.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's funny how Jacqueline kind of picked where they went at the end of the episode. She picked which alliance to go with, which her decision might not have been the best decision for John. And it's really weird. She might have screwed John over there.
Yeah, but the good thing is at least like John has an idol, so I feel like he's more willing to take that risk for Jacqueline, and that's something that he can use to his advantage to get Missy and Baylor on their side. He can flip back over to Wes, Keith, and Alec if Reed goes next or something. I think that if John and Jacqueline, what would be smart is if they continue to play both sides. I don't think they should pick a side. I think they should continue to play both sides and really, really just work hard to get good relationships with everyone.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. I mean, I think one of the things is that I've noticed is that John seems really, really close to Missy. It seems like that's what really ties him into that group, but I don't think he sees that Missy's really, really close with Jeremy.
And Natalie, like really tight with Natalie also. And I just feel like, I mean, if I was John, my play would be I'd want to play both sides, and I'd want to go back to my alliance that I backstabbed and say, okay, I'm with you guys. I'm with you guys. We're so solid at the end. I'm sorry I left. Josh was just such a big threat. But what I need you guys to do is we need to convince everyone that Jeremy's the biggest threat. We need to take him out, and we need to say that if he gets to the end, everyone's voting for him. Because what John needs to do is get other people to say that Jeremy's the best person in the game, that everyone's going to vote for Jeremy, because he needs to plant that in Missy and Baylor's head that Jeremy is going to win this game. You have to come with me and Jacqueline.
The thing about them, John and Jacqueline right now, being a power couple, is they can really, really play a swing vote like no one else has been able to play. You know, they still have the numbers on their side if they switch. You know, and I feel like this is really like really interesting for Blood versus Water. You know, I really like the dynamic and the way they've been able to play both sides. I think they could definitely like switch back. You know, like you were saying. So.
Yeah, I feel like it's rare that you have a unit of two that they're both so willing to switch back and forth. See, last season you had Tony that was willing to make all these crazy moves, and he was kind of able to drag Wu along. But it came to a point where, you know, Wu did have a mind of his own for the Trish vote at the final five. So it's not quite like this, where this unit of two is in the middle and they can swing either way all the time. But I feel like John and Jacqueline, you saw how like paranoid they were and how, you know, they didn't want to be in the middle. They didn't want to hurt people's feelings. So I don't feel like they're as ruthless, and I don't think they will necessarily switch back and forth all the time.
See, the thing is, I noticed was, just like a small thought was, you know, I feel like John really doesn't want to hurt people's feelings, but I feel like Jacqueline more has her head in the game, you know? I feel like she's not afraid to make moves. That's why I'm really happy, like, for this couple, because I feel like Jacqueline kind of has a more strategic mind than John. You know, I feel like John's has more of a social aspect to him because he's able to fit in with all those, like, bros and those frat bros, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing about Survivor. To be really good at the game, you have to be very easily annoyed. You have to be annoyed with everybody. You can't like anyone. You can't be emotionally attached to anyone. I feel like John is like a little kid on a play date with all of his little friends, and Jacqueline's the one with the head in the game. And that's what I like. I'm definitely liking Jacqueline more now than at the beginning of the season.
You happy I traded her to you in our fantasy draft? First ever trade last week?
Yeah, I am. I am very happy, especially since Keith could be going home next week. You never know.
He's got an idol, okay? That's all I'm going to say.
He might not play.
Let's move on. So the reward challenge. What did you think of the reward challenge?
That was like a tough challenge. And honestly, I didn't like. It seemed like a really, really hard challenge to participate in, and the payoff wasn't even that interesting. I don't like having to move heavy things at like a snail pace. Like if you're gonna exhaust the contestants, have them do like a really long like ropes course, or you know something where like Joel is dragging Chet around an obstacle course, something where they could something was really entertaining. I didn't think the puzzle. Well, I don't know. What do you think of the challenge? I thought it was a little bit boring, but I like the reward. I like that it was an actual challenge, not a duel.
I think I've gotten to a point this season where it's like challenges really haven't interested me enough that like the slightest like change to a challenge where it's like kind of like how do you explain it? It's kind of like Survivor Caramel. You know, we had all these like shitty seasons, and then we get a few good seasons, and like Philippines was amazing. But Caramon wasn't that great, but everyone thought it was great at the time, you know? And it just kind of isn't that great when you look at it, you know? The challenge wasn't really that great, is what I'm trying to say. But it was something, you know? It wasn't as bad as the immunity challenge of memorizing something on a beach, you know?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be if they were just going to do away with reward challenges and do the annoying combination immunity and reward that they always do, like, oh, Jeremy, you won the memory challenge, but you also win a pizza that you can share with one person. Oh, you want to share it with 3 people, you can share it with 3 people now. Like I did. Yeah, I'm glad it was an actual challenge. Hopefully, challenges get a bit better. I thought the memory challenge was okay. Like it's kind of boring, but at least you can play along at home. So there's like some purpose to it. The viewers can actually get involved in a challenge and like, oh, maybe if I was on Survivor, I could do that. So, but I feel like the challenges could have been better. I don't like 2 standing in one position doing nothing challenges in a row. I feel like maybe spread them out, do like some type of puzzle slash, something that has to do with scale. I don't know.
You remember at the beginning of the season where I can't remember who was interviewing Jeff Probst, but there was one interview where he was asked like about the challenges and stuff, and like they said, oh, we can do great challenges now because there just wasn't enough rain last time. I still feel like they're not doing great challenges. I feel like it's kind of like, oh, is this really what you consider great challenges?
Yeah, they've only done. They said like, oh, the tides or the currents are an issue now, so we can do water challenges. They've only really done 1 water challenge. And like, I don't count the sumo one as a water challenge because like that could be anywhere. It doesn't even have to be in the water. It can be like underneath a trampoline or like it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I feel like the challenges could get better. But the first blood versus water. I mean, we considered those challenges to be maybe the worst series of post-merge challenges in the history of Survivor, and no reward challenges also. But we still thought that season was great. So I feel like if they were doing more strategically and entertainment-wise, I would be more forgiving with the challenges. But because they're kind of lackluster in those respects, then I'm more critical about the challenges.
Yeah, I agree. So for this challenge, for the reward challenge, one thing is I would have picked. I would have liked to seen that. I want to see who doesn't pick Missy. Because that could say a lot.
Well, I actually know. I know about the picks. I saw like the 7. I didn't get to watch Josh's Survivor Live yet, but I saw like the 7 things we learned from his Survivor Live interview, and apparently Baylor and Reed were the team captains, and Reed purposely didn't choose Josh because they wanted to be on different teams so one of them could go on the reward and one of them could have an ear back at camp so they weren't away from any conversations. And I don't know why Baylor didn't pick her mom. She probably actually wanted to win. But there's a secret scene of Missy saying that she was fine with not getting not going on the reward because she said the challenge looked exhausting, and she was like in the secret scene she was like, yeah, food, like whatever. And it's like, yeah, says the woman who's been like shoveling rice down her throat like a mad woman all season. So of course she's not hungry.
Yeah. I think that's weird that was Josh and Reed's strategy, where Reed really failed back at camp because he couldn't keep the guys in check with Jacqueline.
Yeah.
He really didn't do his job there.
What do you mean, Josh? Yeah, Josh didn't keep everyone in check back at camp.
Oh, did Reed go on the challenge?
No,
oh, yeah, right.
Reed went on the reward.
Never mind. My bad.
I think that Josh did do his best. Like Josh did talk to Jacqueline and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Wes and Alec and Keith, well, Alec was the only one back at camp at the time, but Wes, Alec, and Keith just really ruined it. They were just bad, all around bad. I mean, do they not have any self-control? Survivor, if you go on Survivor, it's not about surviving. It's not about surviving whatsoever. It doesn't matter if someone's lazy. It doesn't matter if they don't get stuff at camp. You don't call them out. You don't go to their mom and call them out. Shut up, bite your tongue, and work harder so people notice, oh, wow, Keith's doing work. What a nice guy. Instead of, wow, Keith is a grumpy old hag who's telling my daughter off all the time,
Yeah. One thing I caught on, like, one of the most uncomfortable things in the entire episode is when Alec has that stupid commentary where he's like, yeah, I feel really comfortable right now. And he's like, yeah, I trust John, and John's gonna like get his girl in check, and John's like gonna come with us and stuff. And like, oh yeah, John's the brain of the operations and everything. Of course he's gonna come with us and stuff. It's like, oh my god, has he never fucking seen Survivor? You never underestimate anyone, and you never fucking want to feel safe. You never want to feel safe.
I mean, you never just, like, who can go on Survivor? And I know it's, like, tough circumstances, but, like, he's, like, who alienates people to the degree that he alienates people? Like, how hard is it to be just nice to people? That's all. If you're nice to people, it's like Big Brother. If you're nice to people, you make it past the merge and probably the final five.
It's not that hard,
What's
people. It's not that hard, people. It's not that hard.
It's not. You're just nice to people, and just not like Josh. Josh was good at being nice to people, and he was in a very strong position to either win the game or be the first member on the jury. So you're going to take those odds. Like Alec, what are his chances to win? He's not going to win,
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, Alex just really becoming more like his brother, and it's really stupid. At the reward challenge, yeah, I agree. I think they didn't really get much out of it, and we didn't really get much strategy out of it as viewers either. There wasn't really any payoff besides like Jeremy finding out like they were going to vote for him, last episode, and that I mean, one thing we actually got from it was when like Keith was talking about Wes and being like, oh yeah, I don't know if you caught this, but he said, yeah, Wes is a good kid. He hasn't been to jail yet. Who says that?
I don't know. Keith and Wes are ridiculous, and their edit is kind of it's interesting to me because they're getting a little bit of airtime, and they seem like goofy comic relief. And I don't really know what to think of them. I don't know if I should take them seriously as players in the game. I don't know if they're just going to go out 6th and 7th a few tribal councils from now. But I guess the taco overload was just a funny hashtag for them to use, and I guess that's why they chose it, because there's been no hashtags this season. Yeah. So
I feel like the editors really want us to like Keith. I kind of get that feeling from watching it. Just talking like Keith's like funny. Keith just has this like weird thing where it's like he feels like there's no cameras around him, and he feels really like genuine. I feel like the editors kind of want to underline that, and so I feel like Keith will definitely go farther than Wes. I don't know.
Maybe, and especially since there's just been a pattern of voting out. They wanted to vote off Baylor before Missy, and Josh before Reed, who was clearly the more threatening one. So, but I feel like Keith's idol. If Keith like plays his idol to save himself, they might just see him as a bigger strategic threat. I don't know. We're just like we're looking too far ahead. There's really nothing to. It's hard to say who's going to go further, Keith or Wes.
Yeah. Yeah. So after the reward challenge back at not after it, but during other reward challenges back at camp, Josh is talking to Baylor, and he says, "You owe me a vote." He straight up like says that to her, and she takes it as blackmailing. And this is like the one thing I didn't want Josh to do. Like last week, I didn't want him to be too pushy, too forceful, because he's really not going to get her on his side that way. Do you feel like Josh took? Well, we know he took the wrong approach, but do you feel like Josh should have kept working on Baylor, the way he did?
I don't know. Well, the thing I saw, I didn't see the Survivor Live thing. I just saw the summary thing of it. And he said in that interview that apparently he only said that thing to Baylor, like, you owe me a vote. Come on, I helped you this whole entire way, and you're really going to do this to me. He only said that to scold her and just to make her feel bad and to make her feel guilty because he knew that she was a lost cause the whole time. So I feel like instead of working on Baylor at all, because I know people can, like John and Jacqueline can see when Josh goes off alone with Baylor and talk strategy with her, just investing wholeheartedly everything into John and Jacqueline would have been the best bet. And I feel like that's what Josh did. I feel like Josh played a really good game that was even better than what was shown on TV.
Yeah. I mean, the one, like, I didn't watch the Survivor Live because it, like, wasn't up yet, but, I didn't watch any of the secret scenes either. But, like, I felt like watching the episode, one thing I would criticize Josh for is working too hard on Baylor and not working hard enough on, like, keeping the votes he already had. You know? I felt like you don't really want to jump. Like, if you have the numbers, don't, like, reach for, like, more numbers until you know it's safe to reach for more numbers, you know?
I feel like the best thing that he could have done was, something that Boston Rob did really well on Redemption Island, like with a buddy system and really controlling his alliance members. He should have gone up. He should have seen what there was when Alec and Keith were talking to Baylor, being rude to her. They showed a clip of Josh and Reed just sitting there watching. So I think that the best thing for Josh to do would have been to sit down, have a talk with Alec, Keith, and Wes, and say, you guys have to, stop doing this shit. You have to, like, treat her like a fucking queen and treat Jacqueline like a fucking queen also. Yeah. And if he really got his alliance members in check, then I feel like it could have helped him a little bit more. But I feel like he just was dealt a pretty bad hand. I don't know if it could have saved him, but I think it was definitely a better shot trying to, talk some sense into Wes and Alec and Keith.
Yeah, I feel like Wes, Alec, and Keith would be the kind of guys that would be like, oh yeah, we're going to take on this alliance of 5 people. Let's do it. We can totally do it. And, like, they don't even realize what numbers mean.
Yeah, I think if you ever say, like, John and Jacqueline are clearly on the fence. Like, everyone in every secret scene, like, after Josh got voted off, he was like, yeah, I knew I was going home because John and Jacqueline, their just demeanor totally changed. And that's what Kelly and Dale said when they got voted off. Oh, I knew that John and Jacqueline weren't with us. Like, it was a 95% sure I was going home. And I feel like everyone can tell that John and Jacqueline are flipping around all the time. So to say something like Alec does, like, oh, we're for sure in it. We're going to win it. Like, we have 7. There's no way we're going to lose. Like, you can never be cocky. I mean, if the tribal council was, like, the next day or, like, hours away, like, maybe 1 second before the vote, you can be like, okay, I'm feeling kind of good about this one. But if you still have energy and if you still have time, then you have to invest all that time and energy into John and Jacqueline. Mm-hmm. Until the vote happens. That's what you have to do. That's the game of Survivor. They're playing for $1 million, okay? And they just can't bite their tongue because of some little 20-year-old who's not getting wood. It's not even, like, raining. Nothing bad's happening, but they're just like, I don't know. It's a $1 million game, and it's Survivor. It's the best thing ever, and you're gonna risk getting down in numbers just because you're, like, lazy or have a short fuse. Mm-hmm. It's absurd. It's absurd.
I feel like all of sorry, we'll get on to XI really quickly, but I just gotta say all of, like, the best winners, Tony, Tyson, Boston, Rob, and, like, all those players. And you ask them how easy Survivor was, they'll say it was, like, the hardest thing they ever did. Because, like, I just remember hearing, like, in interviews after the game and everything, just like, oh, yeah, it was so much work. I had to work, like, more than I thought I would have to. You always have to be on top of people. You always, like, even if you think you have a vote secure, you always have to go still secure that vote, And it's so much freaking work. It's so much work. You're not used to, like, comforting people and talking to them as much as you like. You just have to make sure that what they do is in their best interest for you and for them, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. You can't, like, just say, like, oh, I feel good in this game, because you're never supposed to feel good in this game. You always have to keep your mind racing, and it's like really, really, I don't think I'd ever be able to play Survivor like that. That would be so hard.
What you have to do is, like, I mean, it's just like the wood at that moment. If Keith is off working for 2 hours, the wood he gathers is not more important than spending 2 hours building a better relationship with Baylor. I mean, even if you're not hammering strategy into the faces of the swing votes the whole entire time, like John Jacqueline, it's in your best interest to do this. You can do that for a little while. You can talk strategy with them, but then you have to invest as much time as possible in just getting to know them, nurturing a relationship, making them feel good about you as a person, and making you feel like you're an upstanding, honest guy that they should come with you. It takes so much effort, so much time, and you honestly shouldn't like you shouldn't make one slip up like Alec and Keith are doing the entire game. You shouldn't let that come out of you the entire game.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you frustrated when you see people take like the game for granted, because like you're like, they're not gonna win. They're not gonna win that way.
Yeah, and I feel like when Tony did it last season, he like actually couldn't control himself. Like he was working so hard, and I'm sure he did bite his tongue all the time with Cass and everything. But then when he did the llama noises and everything, he the top five maybe. I honestly feel like he couldn't control himself, and he spent a lot of time recovering from that and saying sorry. He spent hours and hours and hours apologizing for every bad thing he did. But I feel like with Keith and Alec and Wes, they just like do stuff because they can, because they don't really care, and they're not spending any time and effort into recovering from it. I don't think they realize what they're doing wrong.
It's so funny. And I remember you told me recently that everyone looked at Tony, on the island. Like Jeff Will looked at Tony as a father figure, and we really did. We saw all of Tony's antics and everything on the show, but we really didn't see all the effort Tony was putting into everything he was doing. And I really think definitely he's in the top 5 best winners of all time.
Yeah, top 5 best players. I think that he is. I think he's easily one of the best players. I mean, Boston Rob probably played the most dominant game, but that was his 4th try. I think him and Kim Spradlin are king and queen of Survivor at this point.
At this point, I agree.
Because I think that being able to do it on your first try is extremely important as to how good of a player you are. I feel like Boston, Rob, and Poverty, they're not king and queen in my opinion. I'd say it's Tony and Kim.
Yeah. We can talk about our favorite, all the great players, as forever, but we have to get back on the episode.
Okay, well, hold on. What do you think about this season? Just this is a question just ran through my head. It's kind of irrelevant. Do you think this season of Survivor is better than the most recent season of Big Brother?
I mean, I'm biased because I'm a huge Derek fan, and I was from the start, so I really enjoyed watching Derek play, but there was a point where it just week 4, you knew Derek was going to win, and it got really, really boring because Derek was just always, the mastermind, always in control. It was insane. Like, everyone wanted to take him to the end. And he was a really good player, and it was really interesting for me to watch, but at the same time, you can see why it's really, really boring. And I think this season of Survivor has a little, not a lot, but a little bit more pizzazz to it, where I can say it doesn't have as good players as Big Brother did, but I feel like it's a better season.
Yeah, well, I always enjoy Survivor more than Big Brother. I love Big Brother, watch live feeds also and everything, but I just love Survivor more. So I think this Survivor season, compared to Big Brother 16, this Survivor season's better. But this Survivor season compared to other Survivor seasons versus Big Brother 16 compared to other Big Brothers, I feel like Big Brother 16 was a better, relative to Big Brother seasons than Survivor is to Survivor seasons. I just wanted to hear your opinion on that. I was just thinking about it. We can go back into the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Survivor. So we get to Exile Island, and I really loved the idol. I really love where it was hidden, and I really love the clue. I thought that was really interesting. And I always love when there's an idol hidden on Exile Island because you can always look for an idol at camp, you know. But if there's an idol at Exile Island, you always have that risk of like, oh, like what if they have it? What if they bring it back with them? There's a risk to sending someone to Exile Island, not just for a clue, but for a real idol. And I thought it was really interesting. I really enjoyed watching John, find the idol. I thought it was gonna be in like the middle, because the water sometimes like runs over, the tide goes over, and there's just like the one rock sticking up. I thought it would be in like the middle in there, but it was actually on the rock. So.
Yeah, I like it because at the camp there isn't like the same sense of urgency because like you can always look for an idol at camp and like, oh, they just stumble upon it. But this is kind of like they have to decipher the clue and like, oh my god, the tide's coming up. I have to guess or I have to find this idol. It's just kind of like a cool sense of urgency. And I was thinking about the clue like when you first read it, I was like, what like what's the clue talking about? But like, okay, like if I was on Exile Island and I had nothing to do but think about the clue, I would probably be able to find it. I thought it was a very obvious rock that it was under, but overall, I like the clues. I like Exile. I like having the idol on Exile Island. I like the idol find.
You think that John should have left a stick where the idol was, so someone else could go find the stick?
Yeah, he should have. I'm pretty sure Wes and Keith would have fallen for it.
Yeah.
Okay, who's Go ahead.
Alright, I was just gonna say instead of being like, this is a fucking stick, like Keith would probably be like, this is a legit idol. This is like you actually found a legit idol.
Who's stupider, Jason Siska from Fans vs. Favorites or Wes?
I think Wes is a. I mean, it's hard. I mean, I feel like Keith catches Wes a lot. I feel like Keith, like, a lot of the theme, like, this season has been, like, parents kind of leading, their children, like, through the game. I feel like Keith, like, really catches Wes a lot. I feel like Wes really stupid, but I feel like Jason's pretty fucking stupid, too. I'd say Jason's.
Yeah, the thing about Jason is that he like, had the opportunity to do stupid stuff in the game because he like actually won immunity and like found an idol and did stuff. Wes is just in such a bad position in the game and hasn't done anything that we don't even know if he would do the stupid things that Jason did. But yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Jason, I'm biased because I just think Jason's fucking like retarded. But
and the good thing about the first Blood versus Water is like you kind of saw the reversal in Sierra and how she really became a strategic force and was guiding her mother in how to play the game and eventually voted her mom out and had this sort of like liberation that was so awesome to watch.
Yeah.
And I feel like you just have kind of these parents like Keith is likable, but he definitely became less likable in the most recent episode, and Missy isn't very likable at all. You kind of just have these parents that just aren't that likable, that criticize their kids who are kind of dumbasses, and I don't like the dynamic as much as the Laura and Sierra dynamic. And even the Tina-Katie thing, when Tina was saying, oh, Katie, you should date Vetus, and like, it was just like there was much more endearing moments. I feel like this is more like you dumbass and like idiot, like Baylor work harder. It's just like it's not as fun as the first Blood versus Water to watch, I think.
Yeah, didn't Tina say you should like get a club, whack her on the head, and track her to your cave or something? Do you remember that?
I do not remember that.
Okay. I might just be crazy. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think maybe I can't tell maybe it's just because we're biased because we're like, children, and I love seeing Sierra, like play the game for her mother, or like lead her through the game. It was a really cool role reversal. And even at the beginning of the season, where like Laura kind of like just totally like easily beat Sierra at that sumo wrestling challenge, and then like you get that role reversal. It's so like refreshing to see. But in this, it's so boring to see like the parents just keep like leading the kids, I don't know. They're 20, like they should be able to do stuff.
And FYI, we are men. We are 18 years of age, and we are men. It's one that to go on record. We are not children, Jak.
Okay. I mean, okay. I agree with you.
We're old enough to go on Survivor and play better than,
Oh, there's no doubt about that. We can play better than.
Yeah. And Baylor.
So get to the immunity challenge. We talked about that a bit. Just not much to say. Just a memory challenge.
I liked how it came. I liked how it came down to Josh versus Jeremy.
Yeah,
I thought that was at least a cool thing. I would have rather had neither of them win immunity, so they were going at it at tribal council. But I feel like at least if we're not going to have that, it's cool that they had some type of battle in the immunity challenge. I wish it was something that was a little bit more intense than like a memory challenge. And maybe if they lasted like a few more rounds, so they were actually going at it, but they were just alone, and then the very next one, Josh got it wrong. So I feel like it was kind of a dud, but at least they were the last one standing. I guess that's something.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed was Keith's actually been pretty good at challenges. I didn't expect Keith to be like this good, but he almost got to he was at Final Four with everyone else. So.
Yeah, and the thing I like about Jeremy that I haven't been on the Jeremy bandwagon much this season, even though he is on my fantasy team.
No way, really? You haven't been on the bandwagon? No.
No, I haven't been on the bandwagon. But the thing I liked is that I saw Jeremy's secret scene, and he said that he practiced that challenge at home. He practiced the memory challenges before he came out there. And I mean, I appreciate that, because if you're going to go on Survivor, practice the obvious challenges. Hold your hand above your head, attach it to a string or something, stand there for 6 hours, do meditation, do yoga, do memory challenges, buy 3D puzzles, go all out. You have a chance for $1 million. And that's what I appreciate about Jeremy, because what I like is that he's an actual fan. He's actually applied like many, many times to be on the show. And the only other people like that I kind of see on this season are Josh and Reed. Yeah, Reed and Josh. And the funny thing about it is that I just saw a little clip from the Survivor Live, like Jeff posted on Twitter, and apparently the thing that happened is that the casting people, they didn't send in a dual application for the Blood versus Water season. They applied separately, maybe for like Target or something, and so the casting director called Reed and said, okay, we're interested in you for Blood versus Water. Is there someone else that you would like to bring along? And then he described his boyfriend, Josh. And then the casting people asked, like, wait, is your boyfriend Josh Canfield? Like, yeah. Like, oh, we were going to call him next.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy? That awesome. Makes me feel good about them being cast, because they both really want to be on the show. So I feel like them and Jeremy, they definitely score Magnus points at this stage in terms of this cast. I feel good about Jeremy now.
They do one thing and they score Magnus points, and I've been working 10 years to get the fucking Magnus point, and
yeah, you get none. Dude, like Josh and Reed and Jeremy, they have tons of Magnus points. They can get free massages for life, free hugs, all sorts of perks.
Okay. One free car wash. I mean, one thing I really liked about Jeremy was, we see Jeremy as like kind of a hothead a lot of the times, but I really liked how he won that. You know, he wasn't a sore winner. You know, he didn't rub it in anyone's face. He didn't do like a huge yell. He did a little golf pump, and then he went up and he accepted the immunity. You know, it's nice to see that he's a good sport about things. You know.
Yeah, when he was doing the whole thing about like bitching about the rain and everything, I kind of thought he might be like a Jervis 2.0, and not because he's black, but because like he was just like taking so much credit for something that it's just kind of like a minimal accomplishment, like not much going on. Like, why are you giving yourself so much credit for not quitting and quit bitching about people who think they might, just like stop bitching, Jeremy. But I feel like he wasn't bragging too much, and especially since his ass was on the line, that it is even better to not like pull a Sheehan and just like in your face.
Yeah. Did you think he's like Jervis because of the Pagani tattoo he has on his arm, right?
Yeah, dude. Jeremy has a bunch of tats.
Yeah, totally.
He's all tatted up. He's a badass, dude. Basically, he's a badass.
Basically, he is a badass. So we go back to camp. Jacqueline tells John, Jacqueline tells John, what's been going on and how people have been like treating her poorly. Just basically ignoring her. And like, I feel like, not, or maybe like Wes and not Keith. I don't even know. Maybe Keith too. But I feel like Alec and Wes, like they've never really been in a relationship where it was like it really meant something. Because like if you're in a relationship, it's like it's not just one person that's leading the relationship. That's not a real relationship. Relationship is between two people, where two people make decisions that best benefit both of them.
Yeah, and everyone, and like it's ridiculous to me that saying like, okay, yeah, like Jacqueline will do whatever John says. Like, no, like everyone knows that the guy's just gonna do what the girl says because you want to make the girl happy. That's like, it's not because like he's whipped or she's bossy or anything. I think that John genuinely like takes pleasure in making his girl happy.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also. It was stupid of them for to assume that Jacqueline didn't have a say in anything of that. It's...
Yeah.
Everyone knows that, it's like they're in it together. It's not just one person, leading them.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite Christie brother? At this point, do you like Alec more or do you like Drew? Because my position is I'm 100% Drew. Because Alec's just off-putting. Like, the comments he makes aren't even funny. When Drew is chauvinistic and goes on a rampage, it's hilarious to watch, and at least it makes for the only really good episode this season,
I would 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you there. I think when Drew does it, it's funny, and, like, you love to hate Drew, but when Alec does it, you're kind of just, like, sad for him. You're like Alec, what do you, I don't know. I totally agree with you.
Because if you're gonna have a crazy breakdown and be crazy and chauvinistic to everybody, at least do it in like a magnanimous style where you're doing like an Irish jig and then doing a bunch of other crazy stuff and, like yelling at everybody, like do a bunch of funny stuff like Drew's doing rather than doing something that's actually off-putting like Alec. Drew is just hilarious. Like, bring back Drew. Like, at this point, like, he's fantastic.
Magnus, would you say that you can't go on Survivor without learning first how to do an Irish jig?
I think it's essential.
You have to learn how to Irish jig first. Fire second. So, yeah, I guess, and then we go... Anything you want to add to when after the immunity challenge? I think it was really stupid for obviously Keith to go ahead and tell Missy, what to say. And Missy obviously she's I don't think he directly told her that he was targeting Baylor. I don't know. Did he?
Oh yeah, he said like your girl better watch out or something. I forget exactly what he said. I'm pretty sure he said like your girl is a lazy ass piece of shit, and we want her out. You should have got Missy. You should have gotten an abortion, basically.
Okay. Whoa. Not really, but basically.
That's what Keith was saying, not me.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, I feel like he's trying to, I mean, there is some truth in what he says. Missy is definitely. It's funny how he criticizes her for like playing and doing like everything for. It's like, oh yeah, I tell Baylor to go get some wood, and you go get the wood for her. I don't want you to do that. And she completely denies it. Goes back to Baylor, tells Baylor what's going on, and it was so funny to me because like she's like, oh yeah, like they said they're basically going for you. Baylor's like, what, really? Well, you better go talk to John. And Missy's like, yeah, I know. I'll go talk to John. It's Baylor's not even going to play her own game. She's not even going to play her own game. It's stupid. I might not be giving her enough credit, but I feel like Baylor deserves really no credit.
It's like a kid who's like sick from school, or like, and they don't want to have to call their teacher for the homework, so they just make their mom do it for them. It's just
everything like that, everything.
But I think it's so stupid from Keith. Like, why the hell is it your business? Like, don't try and raise Baylor. You're not trying to raise Baylor to be a better woman. You're not trying to like teach her any life lessons. You can do that with Keith. I mean, with Wes. But I mean, the fact like, oh, Missy, like you can't be doing all your stuff for Baylor. Like Baylor has to grow up and be her own woman. Like, shut up, Keith. Like, it's a horrible game move. Like, I like Keith. I think he's funny. But like he has to start, picking up the social game a little bit better and start kissing some ass.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do, Survivor.
It's Keith. I feel like Keith is trying to play. Keith. He just gives me that Donnie vibe, but he's a better player than Donnie. I feel. Do you think Keith maybe just wanted a daughter? Do you think he ever tried to like dress Wes up in like a dress or something?
Probably. Why do you think Keith is better than Donnie as a game player? Just because he has an idol? Because I think Donnie's one of the best social players ever. The thing about Donnie
is not one of the best social players ever.
No, social players in the sense where he got everyone, not necessarily like socials and making alliances and getting everyone to trust him. I think that he was such an odd one out preseason just because of his background.
Yeah.
But he really got people to like fall in love with him and really, really like want to take him further in the game. I feel like Keith isn't as endearing as Donnie is, and he doesn't have as many redeeming qualities.
What I mean by it is basically I feel like Keith just fits in with this group of people better. Donnie probably would have had a better shot in Survivor. He's not with like a bunch of 20-something-year-olds this season.
All I'm saying is that put Keith on BB16, and it'd be laughable how bad he would do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But one thing about Donnie that was really amazing, sorry to get off topic, but Donnie's just one of the most observant people there, and he was one of the people that actually like could have taken down Derek, And Donnie was, he just didn't have the social game because it just wasn't set up for him. It wasn't built for like him. It was unfair, I feel, because of his background, like.
Okay, here's an observation I made a little while ago. I've been meaning to tell you. Okay, anybody who's watched Big Brother and Survivor, okay, this is an important observation. Okay, so Cody from BB16 is the exact same person as Pete from Survivor Philippines. They look exactly the same, and they're equally as mediocre.
Are you sure? Are you sure that Cody isn't just Woo from Survivor with plastic surgery to think that he can get another shot at winning, but does the exact same thing and messes up again?
Maybe, I don't know, but honestly, tell me, like, are they not, like, don't they look like the same? Aren't they the same exact, like, type of person to be on a show? And don't they have, like, the same personality, basically?
Well, they have a similar personality. I feel like they look a little different, but I can see what you mean. They're both really good looking.
They look very similar. Okay, go on. We're off topic. We're just talking about, handsome guys, basically.
Oh my god, dude. Pete is so dreamy.
Dude, so dreamy, man.
bro, bro. Um, yeah. Do you have anything to add to pre-tribal talk?
Um, I feel like the pre-tribal strategy, it was. I feel like most of what should have been happening was like, um, should have been happening long before the immunity challenges. That's when Alec, Wes, and Keith should have been trying to nurture the relationship with Jacqueline instead of destroying it. So I don't feel like any pre-tribal strategy that was shown, I don't really remember it, didn't have any say in really what happened. I feel like Jacqueline had her mind set up, and that was that.
Mhm. Yeah, I really liked getting on the travel. I really liked when Jacqueline just totally came out. Just surprised, like that whole group being like, yeah, they didn't treat me well. And they weren't being nice to me and stuff. And like they were all surprised by that. It's like you shouldn't be surprised about that. But I feel like the people that were blindsided by that the most were Reed and Josh. Like how like they didn't do anything to her, and it really, Keith, Wes, and Alec really fucked up their game by like doing that. That's why it's hard to control people sometimes.
That's the kind of thing that annoys me is that if their thought process is they don't want to be in an alliance with Keith, Wes, and Alec because they're disrespectful and they don't treat you very well, that's one thing. And flip to the other side and vote them out if you really want to get them out that bad. But I mean, if you're going to vote off Josh and Reed, you still have to live with them.
Mhm.
And I feel like if they just went to the final 7 with Josh and Reed, and then they could vote off Wes, Alec, and Keith in, but then I guess they'd be stuck in the final 3 with either Josh or Reed. They could have done something.
Mhm.
I don't know. Or they could have at least targeted Alec and just got someone out that they didn't like.
Yeah. A lot of Survivor players say that a lot of winners say that you know just a lot of Survivor players in general, like from interviews I heard, just like you always vote for who was the easiest to live with, who was the nicest to you. And I feel like unless it's Keith, Wes, and Alec in the end, at least one of them is in the final 3, they're not getting any votes for Jacqueline. Just because that ship sailed.
Yeah.
You have to be nice to people. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And that's why it's annoying that like Josh had to take the fall.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
But I think that that's normally how it is for most seasons. The first few people on the jury are oftentimes much better players
Sarah?
than no,
Sarah's?
that's not true. But I'm just talking like maybe
I agree with you though. I agree with you.
that season was just a total wild card. But like people like Ars and Vetus are maybe better than the Katies and the Tinas and the Laura Moretts, and LJ is someone who's better than a Jeremiah or a Jeffra. It seems like they get they just get the bigger threat out first. So it's a compliment.
Josh and his Josh definitely took it as a compliment too, kind of.
I just don't. I feel like Josh should be very respected among Survivor fans and the Survivor community because he did play a great game, and I think him going out in 11th place, even though it doesn't sound good, it doesn't reflect how good of a chance he had to win. Because someone who goes out in 4th place, they might have a 1 in 4 chance to win, but I feel like Josh had like a better than 1 in 4 chance to win at the spot when he got eliminated. He was one of the few people that was actually I could see a path for them to win.
Yeah, I mean, just because you make it into the final 3 doesn't necessarily mean you're a good player. Take it. Philip and Natalie. They're god awful players, and people like Josh go out early, and I think he definitely earned our respect on this podcast, and we can definitely recognize him as a really good player and potentially the best player this season.
Honestly, whenever I think of players, I normally don't respect the 2nd and 3rd, the runners-up, because lately they've been getting like 0 votes. So it's hard to respect them. And honestly, I'd rather be 4th on a season and have like a Spencer edit and have an underdog story, then make it to the final tribal council and lose by a lot. Because people like Courtney from Survivor China, you could respect them. Like, damn, that girl stuck it out. She got 2 votes. Amanda got 1. Todd got 4. That's a good finals tribal. I respect those runners up. Parvati and hers versus villains, 3 votes. I'll respect that. But the people like Jervis and Monica and Wu and Dawn and Sherry and Michael and Lisa and
Dreams.
Chelsea and Sabrina. I could just go on and on about all the pathetic people season by season, probably dating back till Nicaragua was the last one that actually had an okay final tribal,
Yeah, it was close. And we enjoy those close tribal councils, don't we?
Yeah, but even then you have Sash, who was absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, well, Sash did some shady stuff, but that's just a rumor. I don't know.
Do you think we'll ever have a final 3 that has 1 vote for each person? Actually, no, we did have one for Survivor Philippines. I mean, I was going to say, the end of my question was, are we ever going to have one since China? Like, is that ever going to happen again? But it happened in Philippines. But it was 7 to 1 to 1, so it's not really the same.
Yeah.
But do you ever think we're going to have a 3-person final 3 where, like, everyone gets, like, at least 2 votes? Like, it's something actually divided?
I hope. I think people just talk way too much of Ponderosa now. People want to acknowledge the better game player, and going back to, I can't use an example on Survivor, but I'll use an example on Big Brother, season 10, where Dan won unanimously. I feel like the jury members just wanted to look smart, I feel like April hated Dan. April and Ollie hated Dan, but they just voted with the majority because they didn't want to be on the outs. It's how, they didn't want to look stupid. And I feel like a lot of jury members don't really want to look stupid. But, I mean, didn't you say they get airtime if, they vote for, someone that's not going to win or something?
Yeah, because they always show, for Survivor Philippines, for instance, they showed 1 Denise vote, and then the other 2 people that voted for Lisa and Scoopin, they got airtime. Carter and RC both got their votes shown. So some people that shallow sometimes can even vote for that. But I feel like at this point in Survivor, you have to identify your threats and you have to vote them out. So it'd be very, very rare for a 3-person final 3 to have that, an even amount of votes between them. I just really want to see another final 2, like an Aussie and Yule type of final 2. And even though Steven and JT was a unanimous vote for JT, I feel like they both played a great game, and I would like to see a final 2 where both players are just really respected. Because even though Fabio and Chase had a 5-4 vote, it's still it seemed like a Fabio runaway from the jury performance. I was surprised that Chase got that many votes, and I'm pretty sure it was because people like Alina did want airtime. But I just want to see a final tribal where we have a Yule and an Aussie, and oh my god, these people are both awesome. Who's gonna win an actual battle? Just imagine a Josh Jeremy final 2 this season. It would have been awesome.
Yeah. I just want people to go out of their comfort zones a little bit more, not try to vote with what the group's voting. I want individual who you think played the best game here, And
it might happen if there was, let's say you're at a merge of 10, and there's actually more than 2 great game players the whole entire season. Because if there's 2 or 3 great game players in each alliance, and God forbid there's 6 people who are really good at the game in one season, then there's a very good chance that 2 of them are going to end up in the final 3. It's hard for one of them to vote off the other 5, But because that we've gotten to the point where it's most of the time it's 1 major strategist and 4 people that are so, that appreciate the security of having someone like Tony to latch onto, it's hard for them to rise above that and be their own person. So I feel like if we get a season where so many people are really strategizing and really going for broke, then that is definitely a possibility for them to have more interesting final tribals.
I mean, last season was amazing. Last season was, I think, one of the best seasons we've had since Heroes vs. Villains. It was amazing because we had so many big characters and so many big threats to win. Even at one point, Trish was even a contender to win. She was cleaning up after Tony, and she was playing a decent game. There's so many good players last season. That was so refreshing to see, and it just so happened to be, Tony and Wu in the end, where Tony just won by a landslide because Wu was just so freaking stupid. But it was nice to see all those amazing players last season.
Yeah.
That's what we want again. That's what we want again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting on the tribal, Keith talks about having gas, and it's normal to have gas, Magnus. Everyone has gas, apparently.
Everyone has it, I guess, a lot.
Except for girls, obviously.
If you're a taco overload, I think that Wes should have defended himself. I was just on taco overload. I couldn't help it.
I mean, your son's just farty all the time. What was I supposed to do? I just had so many tacos.
But it's just, I understand Wes, you're hungry and stuff, but do you have to make that bad of a decision? Okay, I just want a stack of cheese and a bun. Did you see him at that reward? It was clearly a bad decision, and even Keith was saying you're being stupid.
Yeah, no, he's telling him multiple times you're the stupidest person right now. Can't eat that fast. Can't eat that fast when you've been starving. Yeah, I think Keith was just trying to defend their bad behavior for Jacqueline and everything. And
that's the worst thing to do. The worst thing to do is when someone like Jacqueline, a swing vote, is saying that oh, I felt this way, instead of saying no, you're wrong, Jacqueline, because of XYZ reasons. It doesn't matter if she's wrong. What she thinks to be right is right to her. That's all that matters. So what you have to do is say sorry, say you didn't mean it, try and make her feel good about it, rather than saying oh, it's just normal, we're all just farting around, and I'll keep farting the whole entire 39 days. So Jacqueline, just go to the tribe. I'll fart on you all day. That's basically what they did.
This ain't no Hilton. This ain't no Hilton. Jeff Probst is I lost. Can people look on the ground? I lost my Hilton Mookie. Can someone look for that? No, but and then Reed gets his chance to plead his case, and I can't remember what Reed's case was, but it was I think he started off with more with diplomatic approach than Keith did, but Jeremy totally shuts him down by being oh, I remember what Reed say. He's yeah, if you come with us, we're couples. We're couples. We're not just gonna be gunning for you guys like they will be, And then Jeremy's are you sure? Because you could just vote out the swing vote too, and he just totally shuts Reed down and doesn't even give Reed a chance. But
I feel like that Jeremy didn't necessarily play it well from the edit. It didn't seem that great because it's okay, so Reed, you're telling me you wouldn't turn around and stab John and Jacqueline right in the back? You really wouldn't do that? Come on. And Reed's no, I actually wouldn't. And Jeremy's oh, okay, I would totally stab them in the back.
He totally would. He totally would, and he actually might. He might actually say that. Anyway, vote tallies in. 6 votes Josh, 5 votes Baylor. I wish it would have been the other way around, but it is what it is.
Did you listen to Baylor's new? She released 5 songs on an EP. It's not an album. It's a mini album basically. But she released 5 country songs. Have you listened to them yet?
No, I have not. I heard their shit.
I have heard them, and they are shit. So I've heard shit.
Oh, you can confirm.
They are shit.
Okay. Okay, well that's settled then. I'll have to check them out.
She sounded like she was on taco overload while she was singing them. It was not good. She's no Chase Rice.
Well, I mean, it's no Hilton, so.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, scenes for next episode. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Reed can come up with. I think it's weird he's throwing Keith under the bus, but I mean, guess you have to do what you have to do. You never really want to be on the chopping block because even if it's your ally going home, that's still 3 more days for you to think of something new.
I feel like
you know?
Reed started off the game, I think, overplaying. It didn't not from what we saw from like the extra scenes that I saw, that like everyone was saying Reed was just like spreading a bunch of rumors and lies, and he was kind of already on the outs from his tribe. And I feel like
Yeah.
Reed overall does have some good social skills, some good gameplay ability, and I feel like Reed has been getting he's obviously been getting a pretty bad at it. I feel it's been picking up a little bit since he got back with Josh, and I feel like he's actually a fairly decent player. I don't feel like he has a good chance of being a returning player, like as good of a chance as Josh does, unless he pulls off some ridiculous thing and makes a huge splash post merge in this season. But I feel like he's doing pretty good. I feel like he should have been getting better at it this whole time.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, what are your final thoughts on the episode and on Josh before we give away the funniest moment?
I feel like Josh was a very good player. Like, there was a secret scene of him basically saying how observant he was at the reward challenge, because he wanted to go in. He doesn't know all these people. He said he hasn't been on a team with a lot of the people yet, and he wants to see how they act and how they react under pressure and in the heat of the moment, because that shows the true, how they actually are in stressful situations. So he was, even in a reward challenge, he doesn't have his mind tunnel vision on tacos like Wes does. He is even taking that time to observe everyone in the challenge and, kind of pick up on some of their gameplay, some of their personality traits, and some of their characteristics. And I think that speaks volumes as to how he, plays the game and, how good of a strategist he actually came back alone on a season with people like Spencer and Vetus. I feel like his target wouldn't be that big, and he could just run with it. I think Josh. I think Josh definitely should come back for another season. I feel like he was pretty entertaining. I feel like they kind of had to make him more of a strategy-minded person, even though he probably is really funny. But they couldn't peg him in the funny role because they needed someone to talk strategy to the camera.
Yeah.
But I feel like Josh is definitely a great player, and it's sad to see him go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd love to see Josh play again. I agree. I think he has a really good shot to run away with it because people would not view him as big as a threat as he actually is. And I also think that, thinking about it, I think that I would have loved to see, Josh and Jeremy go at it all season. But, it just so happened it had to come out like this, and it bums me out, but, it is what it is. But I feel like Josh is more of a strategic player than Jeremy is, and I feel like Jeremy is a little bit more of a social player.
Yeah, I feel that.
And that's kind of what I get from it. But they're both, great players, It was fun to watch them go against each other. I hope it just doesn't get really boring now,
So before we hand out this trophy, what do you think is going to happen next week? Is Keith going home?
No, I don't think Keith's going home. I think maybe Bree might be in some hot water. I don't know. I couldn't really tell, but I don't think Keith's going to go home.
Yeah, if I had to place a bet, I'd say Reed was going home. But who do you think deserves a trophy? What was the funniest moment?
I mean, we have to give it to Keith, but I think the funniest moment for Keith was when he said, yeah, Wes is a good kid. He hasn't gone to jail yet.
I liked it when, also in that same scene, when Wes was just walking around in circles, losing his mind, about to puke. Keith was like, "Who raised that kid?"
Yeah.
So Keith is the funniest this episode. There's a
Taco Shop Keith. That's the That's the moment that wins.
Definitely. That taco shop, that was a great reward. I thought it was just going to be tacos, but it was burritos, quesadillas,
Yeah.
and chips and salsa. Like,
Margaritas.
I was full after dinner in my dorm watching it, and it still, like, got me hungry. Like, oh, that would have been so good if I was on Survivor, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. But was the challenge worth it? I know. It's a really hard challenge. Anyway. Yeah. Tacos.
Dude, I would have done that challenge for tacos even in my normal life, even though I have money in my wallet. For free tacos, especially on Survivor. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I want to see a taco shop set up a challenge like that. Free tacos.
Okay.
Yes.
Hopefully this episode wasn't too long.
It was like an hour and 25 minutes.
Oh god, we were going lower by like 3 minutes each time. I was like, okay, maybe if we do this long enough, it'll get down to like, whatever, dude. Who cares? Who cares?
Oh well, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Okay, leave your comments. We'll try and respond. We didn't get that many comments in the last few, but we'll definitely respond. You can talk about something totally irrelevant, like, oh, what do you guys think about Brian Heidick? And then we'll give you our opinion on the Season 5 Thailand winner, Brian Heidick. So you can just,
killer.
yeah, puppy murderer. But, yeah, so leave your comments. If you want, you can follow us at Talk Llama on Twitter. And it's basically it, Episode 8, Llama Talk.
Yep.
Okay, see you later, Jack.
See ya.